Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Tel Aviv. Coming up in today's newscast, Israel welcomes 30,000 new Palestinian workers. The Israeli army is on a mission to enlist more Haredi Jews, and a new elite IDF unit performs its first official exercise. I'm Natasha Kirchak here with the latest news in Israel. The Israeli Security Cabinet has approved a plan to allow 30,000 more Palestinians to work in Israel, despite the ongoing wave of terror. In the recent violence, only 2 attacks were carried out by Palestinians working in Israel, and both assailants were in Israel illegally. Around 58,000 Palestinians have permits to work within Israel, but an estimated 120,000 work for Israelis. The additional 30,000 workers are expected to be employed in agriculture, construction, infrastructure, and services. There's widespread support in the Israeli military for adding Palestinians to the workforce, since it's proven to restrain terror. Last week, opposition leader Isaac Herzog came under fire for saying a 2-state solution is currently impossible. But now it looks like the Labour Party has unanimously approved his plan for separating Israel from the Palestinians. Herzog's diplomatic plan demands that Labour remain committed to a 2-state solution, but it also believes that Israel must retain control of the West Bank settlement blocks. Doing so requires completing a separation barrier to keep terrorists outside of Israel, and freezing all construction in settlements outside the blocks. The plan also calls for expanding the Palestinian Authority's civilian powers, by expanding Area B, which is a part of the West Bank where Israel only has security control. Plus, dozens of Jerusalem area Palestinian villages are supposed to be separated from the city itself. Herzog's plan is garnering the full support of the Labour Party, but the organization Peace Now claims the Israeli public will not follow along. The Peace Now Secretary General claims Israel's left-wing parties won't garner power until they confidently stick to their positions and stop being hesitant. The U.S. is urging Israel to accept a new 10-year military aid agreement, and the Israeli government is considering waiting for a new American administration. But the White House says they're offering the best deal Israel will ever get. The American government says its proposed deal is the largest military aid package that it has ever offered. These comments come after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu told his cabinet that Israel might not sign the deal until the next American president is elected. The White House says Israel is free to wait, but that America's budget might change in the next year, leaving Israel with less funding. The White House also says that Obama's government has done more for Israel's security than any other U.S. administration. Israel currently receives $3 billion in military aid from the U.S. every year under the current aid package, which will expire in 2018. The Red Cross has closed its office in Gaza following violent protests. Demonstrators are continuing to storm the office in solidarity with a hunger-striking Palestinian who's being detained by Israel. A Red Cross spokeswoman says the office will operate remotely until local authorities in Gaza ensure that the Red Cross staff can work safely. Dozens of Gazans have forcefully protested at the office on a daily basis, demanding the Red Cross to push Israel to stop detaining the Palestinian journalist Mohammed al-Kik. The 33-year-old TV reporter has been on a hunger strike for 75 days, after being arrested for alleged involvement with Hamas. His supporters in Gaza have tried to enter the Red Cross building forcefully, smashing windows and causing other damage. For now, the International Committee of the Red Cross says the office will be temporarily closed due to security concerns. You might be scared of sharks, especially if you've watched a horror movie like Jaws. But here's the good news. We may know how to help you get over your fear. An Israeli aquarium is trying to change the negative image of sharks through its new underwater exhibit. Aviv Levi is a curator for the Underwater Observatory Marine Park in Eilat, and he joins us with more.
Good evening, Natasha.
Good evening. So I'm so excited to hear about this. Tell us more about Shark World in Eilat.
The Shark World is really an exhibit to come and show the truth about sharks. Sharks have got a very bad public relations, as we see because of the movie Jaws, and just about any animal, it's got a big jaws with big teeth and very sharp teeth. causes people to be afraid, and they're very wrongly misconcepted as very vicious animals. And we're trying to show the truth, to show the beauty, and to show not only that they're not dangerous, that they have a very important role in nature. They do have a very important role in nature in their balance.
So tell us about that role. What is so good about sharks? How do they help the environment?
They help the environment. That sharks eat mostly sick and injured animals, and by that making sure that those animals cannot breed, they cannot infect other animals, and this is really where their role is. There's been sharks in nature for many, many years. There is sharks, and it's very important in the future there will be sharks, because without the sharks there will be diseases, there will be lots of breeding that shouldn't be done with the sharks, and this is really where the role in nature is of the balance. And this is one very important word when we talk about nature, is balance, and that's what they will do.
And like you said before, sharks aren't as dangerous as people think, right?
Definitely. When I go to work every day and dive in a pool full of sharks, the most important thing is getting on the road in my car, and that's really dangerous. When I get into the pool of sharks, then I'm very relaxed. I know nothing bad will happen to me until the end of the day. And sharks do not eat humans. We're not part of the diet, and the real numbers of casualties with sharks is less than any other animal. And as we see today, the most deadliest animal is a mosquito, and this is before even talking about the Zika disease, and 2 million people die every year from mosquitoes. Only 5 people die all over the world from sharks, and that is the truth, and we should be scared from other things and not from sharks.
So how are you trying to change the image of sharks in this marine park? What are you guys doing?
Basically, we're showing the truth about the sharks. We have divers that go with food, with blood, and people say, oh, is this blood in the waters? And shark can smell it. It's true, they smell, but they know the difference between octopus blood, fish blood, and human blood. And people often disappointed that the diver isn't eaten alive. They have their camera ready. They're waiting for the 2 million viewers on YouTube, maybe make some money. That won't happen. That won't happen, and it will never happen, because basically sharks do not eat humans. There is sometimes mistaken identity, but when people come to Shark World, they see the truth about it, they see the beauty of the shark, and most important, they understand the world of the sharks, and they see how sharks think, how sharks can see, and what sharks do really eat, and it's not humans, it's their food, and that's why they do it time after time.
So is it working? Are you convincing people to change their mindsets about sharks?
Definitely. We see people that when they come into the exhibits, they're thinking one thing, and often they're joking, if you fall inside, you'll be eaten, and that's definitely not true. And we do see people coming and changing their ideas, and seeing their parents with the kids enjoying this thing, and seeing that sharks are not as dangerous as we always think. And it's only because these movies, Jaws, and people like to be scared of them. But when they see the exhibit, they see the different kinds of sharks, they understand that out of hundreds of sharks, only a couple of sharks are really real dangerous to humans. And this is, as I said, very bad public relations for sharks that sells movies, but is very bad for the sharks. And millions of sharks are killed every year. An estimated of 100 million of sharks are killed annually by humans, compared to 5 sharks that kill people every year.
So changing topics for a second, you know, your park is located in Eilat, which is one of the biggest tourist destinations in Israel. People come from all over the country for the beach and the sun. And have you seen any change in the amount of tourism that is coming to the city because of this recent wave of violence? And speaking of which, you know, dangers that actually exist in Israel, there are a lot more dangers right now than there are coming from sharks, correct?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Eilat is a tourist city. It's always fun. It's hot in Eilat. This morning I come to Tel Aviv. It's raining, but I was diving this morning in Eilat. We don't see a big difference from tourists, because there's not a lot of tourists in Israel, but the tourists that do come to Eilat, mostly Israelis and also foreigners, we do see them, people enjoying themselves, going to attractions, they're helping themselves to the beach, to the sunny weather in Eilat, and we don't feel it too much. We know it from the news, we know it from people coming, but Eilat is a real fun place, and it's a place to forget all your other problems, and that's the reason why people like to come to Eilat, like to enjoy the beach, like to enjoy the different attractions, including the underwater marine park, and this is part of Eilat.
Well, so that's great for our viewers to know when they come to visit Israel, they should head straight to your marine park and to the beautiful city of Eilat, which is beautiful all year round and warm all year round. Thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
The IDF's new elite brigade Oz has completed its first official exercise just a month after the commando unit was officially created. The new brigade is known as Brigade Oz, and it's made up of a combination of 4 commando units: Rimon, Egoz, Maglan, and Duvdevan. The special brigade was created in December to help streamline and increase efficiency in the IDF, and it's part of the Central Command's 98th Division. Brigade Oz's first exercise was 4 days long in both southern and northern Israel, and has been nicknamed Night of Bridges. The power unit is led by Colonel David Zini, who was a veteran of the famed Sayeret Matkal Special Forces unit. The brigade claims its central piece of weaponry is its people, who are highly flexible skill-wise during operations. The Israeli army is on a mission to enlist more ultra-Orthodox Israelis. You just won't believe how. The Defense Ministry posted a funny video on YouTube over the weekend promising ultra-Orthodox men that they'll be prime marriage material by the time they're released. The video begins with the Haredi man entering an office for arranged marriages, where he's looking for a match for his youngest daughter. The owner of the shop reveals a group of potential candidates for marriage, detailing each of their merits. The hopeful father rejects every contender until he comes upon the last one, whom he's told is outside his budget. The store owner explains that the final bachelor served in a special Haredi battalion in the IDF, gaining important physical skills while never abandoning his study of the Torah. The eligible candidate even has a job, which is fully paid for by the army. You can guess what happens next. The father is naturally impressed, and he ends up choosing the ultra-Orthodox soldier. The funny video comes as the Israeli army is trying to encourage more ultra-Orthodox Israelis to enter the workforce and the army, and it seems like their incentives may be working. In the last year, the percentage of working-age Haredi men has increased by 3 points. And now for our Hebrew word of the day. We just learned that sharks aren't so bad after all. In fact, they're even good for the environment. So today's word is karish, which means shark in Hebrew. Israel sits on the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, so we're surrounded by these fishy friends. And maybe that's why the word karish is used in everyday slang. While sharks might have a negative connotation in English, being called a shark in Hebrew is a compliment. If an Israeli calls you a karish, they're trying to say that you're savvy and sharp, so you should feel proud. Because if there's one thing Israelis appreciate, it's people who know how to blaze their own path to success. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tomorrow is expected to be mostly sunny with a high of 65 degrees. Wednesday should be partly cloudy with a high of 64 and a 20% chance of rain. All right, everybody, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.89 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at ILTV.tv, and don't forget to check out our evening update every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.